All right, I'm here with Dom Pelosi, the Physique Smith, here in Tempe, Arizona. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, Joel. It's been great having you out here.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, you're a Neufit practitioner, which of course we're going to get into, a bodybuilder, Neufit practitioner. You have a ton of other bodyworking certs under your belt. You have a huge, vast knowledge of the body. And you're honestly one of the most talented body workers I've ever come across. And so for people that don't know, that haven't been following the Instagram, I came out. And here's the other thing people should know is that you're just a humble, we were talking about this, somebody who's got this abundance mindset, right? Someone who is not scared to share information with people. And you put the offer out there to me as a Neufit practitioner myself. You said, hey, if you want to come learn and level up your game and learn more, I'll be happy to show you. And so for the last 3 days, I've been shadowing you, and it's been awesome. So thanks again, man, for letting me do that.
Of course,
it's
bro.
Huge.
It's an honor having someone out here learning and trying to get better. I think in the end, it's like we get pretty protective of our intellectual property is what is being labeled now. But it's kind of like no one really knows who invented a push-up, but we all do it, right? Like to me, it's kind of like you have to share and you have to like help progress the theme. With Neufit, they kind of sell us this idea that, you know, you can, if you make it yours, you'll be a lot more successful and be able to really push the product. So, you know, we're trying to change that general mindset of what therapy, training, and the overall approach to fitness and wellness is, right? You know, it's the ultimate hack. So hence we're both wearing the shirts. I mean, we love Neufit.
Yeah.
So it's a great common ground to build on. And it's been awesome, like having you level up and even we got a lot done today. It really peeked into it. So, yeah.
And something we'll talk about too is like, I've had hip pain and like hip impingement. I don't know what to say. Dom looked at me for like probably less than a minute, and he was like, "What's going on with your shoulder?" I'm like, "Oh, how did you know?" I'm like, my left shoulder bothers me. I have right hip pain. So we worked on the shoulder at first. I started feeling some relief. Then you cleared my hip impingement pain from like 10 years ago in one session. That was probably like 15 minutes of actual work doing the current and just doing some of your modalities. And then day 3, we cleaned up the shoulder again, and I'm feeling pretty awesome. So
good.
So yeah,
it's nice when it works out on that final push, right? So you know, that's the whole game though, is you got to build on each piece. Like, I mean, I'm working on shortcuts. There's different systems that enable your body to enable your body to adjust, and some of those systems are off. It's going to result in things that we're fixing. So I'm definitely moving through it. You know, it's unpublished data, or it's published, it's not organized. You know, looking for those patterns and those systems to see if we can get a better hack, get somebody better faster. You know, my program MO is a little more like performance, you know, rehab to performance. So a lot of times rehab will stop with you standing up and being okay, right? And a lot of times it's not really good enough for an athlete, and it takes a really long time for us to hone in. So with the Neufit and everything else, it's been able to shortcut our process and then really move more into optimization. So today, we didn't clean up the shoulder. I don't want to correct you or nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, with the Neufit running those lower frequencies, the way they educate us and teach us that there's a system there that creates patterns, but a lower frequency creates more contractions per second. So technically today we fixed Joel's hip through rehabbing the shoulder, actually speeding up that process of engagement to the shoulder. So, you know, for whatever reason, you know, whether it's an impingement or a former injury, maybe it's a spine issue, maybe it's a wrist issue, the shoulder kind of stopped working, and it's real common. So you can say whatever you want to say, it's just not working. Once we figured out what movement wasn't working, we turned it on with our Neufit, and that's where the power chain happened. I went to actually go fix the hip, and the hip was fine. We all laughed at it, right? And he's like, "Man, walk around." And he's like, been holding. He had to walk back to his condo, which is, you know, 100, 200 yards away, but that's enough to mess your hip up if it's still messed up. So I think in the end, when your shoulder isn't working, your elbow isn't working, your wrist isn't working, you know, you kind of cross a little bit, so it cuts that motion as opposed to going forward. So that's what's really cool about it. The better you move, you know, the more you move, the better your other stuff feels. So a lot of that stuff is kind of tied together. That's what's I guess the fun thing about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding those
great
patterns.
You could experience it. That's my boy, right?
Yeah, it was huge.
Otherwise, you know, Neufit's great, but it's just a tool, you know, and it'll enhance what you can already do. It'll take further what you can already do, but it's not going to help you do anything if you don't know anything, right? So there's quite a few practitioners out here, and then, they're not necessarily where we're all like sharing, but there's a couple of us that help each other, you know what I mean? And you find different people want to level up, and it takes that work a little further, right? The clients that come see you need a little more, and you got to find a way to get that a little faster, right? So it is kind of like a game. It's like progressive overload, progressive poker, right? You know what I mean? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the knowledge is priceless. It's the ultimate barter, is what we say, right?
Yeah. I mean, and just for people that don't understand too, like there's tons of Neufit practitioners out there. I follow a lot of them. They're all great.
And everybody's awesome. Everybody does something different, right?
Yeah, everybody does. If anybody goes to your Instagram though, at Physique Smith, they'll see, I mean, you post it all the time, and it's not that you're bragging, it's just to show what's possible. And I mean, I see so many testimonials from not only humans, but dogs. But we see some of the things you're clearing. I probably can't even say it, but there's a virus and a pandemic that's going on that Dom helped somebody recover. And the person had
So in the end, so we don't get arrested.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Please make sure I don't get arrested.
Symptoms of things. And when you have symptoms, forget about what it is. I'm not qualified to diagnose. Actually, none of us are, as far as an impingement.
I'm glad you said that.
Or a tendinosis or anything like that. Unless that came from a DPT, meaning a high level doctor of physical therapy, or someone, a DO or something, really high level MDs, can diagnose. So technically we're all just guessing.
Yeah.
And all I can do is objective data, right? So I take the objectives. You're having trouble breathing, wheezing. This girl had walking pneumonia a few times in her life. She knew what it was really, really sketchy about going to the hospital. She tried to do a video consult, and they labeled her as COVID immediately. So she's like, all right, nope, I'm feeling good. Don't worry about it, right? So they're getting ready to travel. Going across country, move the whole life. They got to pack up still. I was just like, man, what are you gonna do? They're like, oh, we're screwed. And so I went over on my break. He's a great athlete of mine. Kid has 500,000+ followers. He's an amazing person. He's been so good to me. And I saw him stressing out towards the end. Moving is a very difficult thing. You just did it.
Yeah.
But I went over there. We went through a couple of systems. The head dude, the electric athlete, my guy Clay Edgin.
He's great too.
He dialed me in for a couple of things, gave me some recipes. Eventually, with some of that FSM stuff, it's encouraging your body's natural function of healing. And there's specific machines, precision microcurrent machines, and a few different brands out there that actually are amazing. We're talking, put a whole room full of people to sleep with 6D batteries, right? Everybody hold hands. It's savage, right? You know what I mean? And you've read about them, it's a real thing. So, with the Neufit, we're able to dial in those frequencies in a, in an undertone setting, almost it's so low you shouldn't even kind of feel it, but we can give your body that DC layered current that we have. It's not exactly DC, but it has those tendencies, and now we can almost speed up that healing process. So it's not fixing anything, it's just telling your body it's okay, right? Just like anything else, you know what I mean? Your shoulders hurt. We didn't do anything. We just connected your brain to the shoulder in a specific movement under specific tension. Then we varied the tension, made sure your hip wasn't compensating, and voila, right?
Yeah.
So it's you're going to be sore, but it's really your brain makes that muscle work, right? So it's all neural. When something stops working, it's because your body's trying to protect it. And we learned a few things this week as far as things that might be the reason, right? So the more things you have to work on, the more things you change, the more motivated you are. As far as fitness goes or performance, it's a really easy transition from rehab to fitness. There's a reason why they want to be rehab. They have goals, they have shows, they have competitions, whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe your goal is to go to Fry's, the grocery store, and not push the cart crooked, right? You know how annoying that is. It drives me crazy. I trying to fix. Can't even enjoy my shopping experience, right? Yeah, if it's not my shoulder, it's my foot. And what we learn in Neufit, it's really more or less the nervous system. Till it breaks, bleeds, or bruises, it's more symptomatic. So if you understand the symptoms, you can kind of dick trace your way through and at least have a good hypothesis, and then you experiment, and then you conclude just like any other scientist, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's what we talk about in Neufit too is, right, we're changing the input. Like what you said, we're changing the input, the way the body and the brain and how it perceives stress. When you change that, the body gets better, right?
That's it. It's very natural. The body doesn't want to be broken, right? You know what I mean? We're designed to be more longevity, and we're not necessarily getting old. It's just that things are working harder and harder and harder. Imagine those pulleys that guide your whole body. And, Joe, you and me be running like this, right? So, like, it takes this much more to do it. So I tell people all the time, there's a reason why you go do some errands and you're exhausted. Like, your body is, when you go through major stress and you can't poop, you can't sleep, your body starts freaking out. Those are sympathetic systems. And, with the Neufit, the special thing about that neurostem, it's such a platypus of stim. There's nothing else really like it. I have another device, and it's great, but the Neufit is king, right? Anytime I get a chance to use it, it's much more operator friendly, has a much more like direct effect. You just have to be strong enough to take it, you know what I mean? Or you have to have the right practitioner and dial in those frequencies probably.
Yeah,
so we don't blow you over, right? You know what I mean? So nervous system is a delicate thing. It can be manipulated very easily, both good and bad. So, I mean, there's a dark side to that sword, but I mean, at the same time, like the way they teach us in class, they teach a system to someone, even any unexperienced practitioner can actually do pretty good as long as you stick by the system, right?
Yeah.
Kudos to Garrett and that team, especially for educating us and pushing us out and encouraging us. And, I wouldn't be like much without it,
Yeah.
It's been a good ride, even getting to this point where, you're out here like learning and trying to build a better life for yourself. It's good stuff,
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you.
Thank
man.
you, brother. I love you, man. Thanks for saying that. That's huge. Man. Yeah, I love it. And like I said, you're one of not many people would take me under the wing and say, "Yeah, come on out, man."
You gotta recognize somebody who want to do good, though, right? Like, I mean, we all started somewhere. At least you're trying to ask for help, and you don't just go and like copy something and ruin it. You know what I mean? So, like, the big thing about our modality, what I feel, and the big mission is, especially in stuff like this, where we're taking extra time out of our lives to push something and share our experience within, hopefully get more people involved. It's more or less the more negative experiences are out there, the harder it is for people like me to stay helping. You know what I mean? There's X amount of not necessarily resentment or anything. It's just like, somebody will be a little turned off to something if it really didn't make them feel better, if it made them feel worse, which you and I both have our own machines. We're both a little type A people,
yeah.
And I've definitely messed myself up a few times, right? Like,
yeah.
You gotta just weather it, and you're like, all right, that's my bad. I'd rather do it to myself than one of my clients. Then I'll hit a couple guys up like, oh yeah, that's what I did wrong, right? Yeah, and you have ideas, and you wanna. There's no set limit to that. Like, as far as like, obviously you can hurt yourself, but most likely the case you're gonna be more uncomfortable, right? Like, if you train yourself into if you speed up the process of dysfunction, right? So like that's what we're learning. You've trained how many times on the Neufit? Like, how many times have you done your workouts?
Hundreds,
and you scan and you do the system, and you got a dynamometer, like it's a fantastic system. But in the end, if you have like form and technique issues, if you have poor joint feedback, and you just never thought to put the things on your wrist or do a hand bath or something, right? You know what I mean? If you don't connect all those dots. Now, don't get me wrong, you can stack each acceleration, stack, and you can feel really good. I know some practitioners that run a reset for the nervous system, reset that parasympathy, then they'll run like wellness or vitality, and man, you're going to feel really good. You actually, like, your spine stretches out really good. Then they do a foot bath to detox you, and then maybe some little digestion acceleration, which is like, a couple of certain free. We saw a couple. I have a couple hybrids I showed you.
Yeah.
I've gathered these from different practitioners. We all exchange information in exchange for information and camaraderie, and some of them stick around, and some of them go off on their own, and others come back, and new ones come. But yeah, you and me, part of that original like second or third generation, has been awesome, man. Like,
yeah. Very cool. Let's Tarantino this really quick. I want to go back actually in time and talk.
You said Tarantino.
I knew you'd like that. I want to go back in time and talk actually about kind of how you got into bodybuilding, because, you're on the Hack Life podcast. We're talking biohacking, and let's face it, bodybuilders are like the original OGs of biohacking. Like,
oh, for sure.
People don't understand. They think like these guys are just meatheads or whatever, but like to get to that level, we were talking about it. There's a certain lifestyle. There's a certain it's an art, man. And there's a lot of things that are happening. So I'm curious, how did you go down that path of being like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do?
Well, like anything else, you don't really set out like, oh yeah, I want to be a bodybuilder, right? Like, I was an athlete. Like, I was actually like, a subpar athlete before like, the middle of high school kind of thing, right? But somewhere in that, I broke my foot and, wasn't able to practice. And it was either going around on the field picking up bags and kind of playing with the water or whatever, right? Like, or you can go and lift weights. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I'll go lift weights, right? And of course, I broke my foot, so it was like the top of the tarsals, right? Just cracked it right across. I jumped off something and supposed to be water down there, and the wave kind of went back. I'm from Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
And we jump off stuff. It's just terrible, right? And anyway, I ended up with this broken foot. I jumped off the thing 30 more times until I realized it was broken. So, yeah, I mean, shoved me in the weight room and I was just slightly off. So I learned to push, pull, and squat just a little bit off, and I followed the program. And my dad saw I liked it. I had a very active father. I don't think he was really there for my older brother. So when my turn came around, he was there for like all the practices. He's that annoying father, be like cheering at practice.
Yeah.
So embarrassing, right? But
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, dude, the worst was the car rides. You can't get away, right? Like, why'd you drop the ball? What happened here? We need to do this. And he's very progressive, right? So he saw I like lifting, and he bought me this weight set. It was like a Weider weight set. It's really narrow. You couldn't put the weights. You had to really balance the weights on, right? Olympic bars were expensive, right? Back then, it wasn't like you could just go to Google them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't even know how they got them back then, right? And anyway, like, I'd be lifting at night, and the doctor told me to drink whey, and our pediatrician was like, oh, yeah, amino acids would be good, and multivitamins. My pops went to GNC, and he bought all that stuff. He bought me the packs. And I don't know. Bought me a magazine. Kind of saw, like, this picture of Jay Cutler, like, down there in the Atlas poses in black and white. I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy, right? And, obviously it was a magazine that was full of all kinds of stuff, right? Like, it was adult bodybuilding, right? Like, so there's a centerfold spread with a female bodybuilder. It was weird, right?
Yeah,
But,
I remember this.
I liked it.
That's how I got into it, by the way, as well. Muscle and fitness at 18 years old. I wanted to build muscle and look good. And my dad, I had like 3 years of subscriptions to Muscle and Fitness. I followed all the guys, man.
Love it, man. And like a lot of those guys were reader athletes in certain teams, so they're being pushed.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are it's a sport without, like, it has a scorecard, it has a system, but it's based off of a subjective view. So, there's never really a true winner until there's a true winner. And like, so that's what's really cool about that stuff. It's like, yeah, you can definitely influence and you can win. But I think it's more inspiring, right? So, and there's nutrition, and like my first diet, I got out of a muscular development magazine, right? And I got into lifting. My dad taking my supplements and lifting at high school, and I was getting into it. I was getting bigger, and I think I started growing because I was eating more food, right? I got a lot taller, and I got off the bench, and things got better, right? Like, as far as sports. And my dad saw I liked it. He joined. I think it might even inspired him, so he went and joined the Gold's Gym. And he wasn't like an athlete, I guess, in high school. He was kind of working. 1952, that was that baby boomers, like, okay, quit high school to go drive a forklift and make some money, and then railroad, and then end up having to get his high school degree to go into the Navy and whatever, all this different stuff, right? But that's that generation.
Yeah.
Service and the Gulf War and all that crap, right? And anyway, so he jumped in. He found a Gold's Gym down on Ala Moana Boulevard where I grew up in Hawaii, and yeah, he's lifting there. He's telling me about this trainer. And I was just like, hey, would you want to work out with a real trainer? I was like, nah, Dad, I think I'm good. Like, the coaches in high school helping me. And, I'm power cleaning. I'm deadlifting. We're running stairs. I'm doing plyos. Like, I'm learning, you know what I mean? I sit in the ice bath every day, whether my foot hurt or not. I mean, you do the system.
Yeah.
And you watch your PRs and you work your percentages. So classic Pelican strength charts, right? Systems and progressive over the low pyramid. So, we're forcing that growth, and we had a vision, we're going to win. And my pops, like, he really liked that. And eventually he kind of was like, oh, like, kept asking me. I was like, no, I'm good. One day I had a day off, and I think they had closed the gym in high school to clean it or something, right? And it's like, hey, you want to make $20? I need to move some big stuff in my office. You're strong, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm strong, I go down, and he pulls up in front of Gold's Gym. He's like, get out of the car. I go, what you mean, Dad? I told you I'm not into it. And he goes, He goes, Chris Faudo is waiting for you. I go, who's Chris? He's like, that's that trainer I told you about. He's the best trainer in there. He wants to work with you. I already paid. Get out of the car. I was like, no, I'm good. And then this double swing door opens up, right? And he's like, hey, what's up, bro? When he kind of comes out, this guy is wearing overalls with no t-shirt, stacked to the bone. His hair is all like shaved back. He's brown. I mean, super brown, right?
Yeah.
Just short and stacked. Beautiful physique. He's wearing yellow lugs work boots with his overalls. The classic bodybuilder, right? This is in like 1999. And I was in 7th grade or 8th grade or something like that. We were working out at the high school we're going to go to.
Yeah.
And we got to play on this intermediate team. They didn't have a JV, and, you know, we're intermediate to freshmen. And by sophomore year, junior, senior, like, we're the smaller school, so we got bumped up in the varsity. So there's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And really high-end program in high school. A lot of money coming in through the rosters. And yeah, so he comes out. He's like, come on, let's go. My dad's like, get out of the car. I'm like, no. And he's like, I'm going to get out of the car. I'm going to punch you. You're embarrass me. I'm just like, this is our relationship, right? I'm just like, all right, great. I was like, man, I hate you.
Very
right?
Hawaiian of him, yeah.
No, it was my pops. He's Italian from New York, right?
Oh,
he's
okay.
like, man, backhand for sure with the big gold watch, right?
Yeah.
You know, and but anyway, I get out of the car. I'm very reluctant. I say, hey, bro, your dad says you like to work out. Like, what school you go? And I'm like, oh, I go to this school. And he's like, oh, man, that's great. Da, da, da. I got you. Sign the papers. We go in. He's like, all right. Pop said you can do some pull-ups. I go, yeah, I can do pull-ups. How many you can do? I'm like, I can do 20. And he goes, all right, let me see. I jump up. I probably got 3. He goes, no, Dom, that's garbage. Let me show you a pull-up. And he jumps up and he goes, see how I lean back? Starts doing this perfect pull-up. And I was like, wow, I've never seen it done that way. So I tried it. I probably got like 3. Mm-hmm. Like, well, it's different. So now I'm going to teach you how to work from here, right? So he gave me a routine. And, you know, at the time, it was $80 a session, which we didn't have a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
1999, 2000, that's top dollar. You know, I think he charged $120, so he gave us a discount because he wanted to work with me. He liked my father, and he would give us an extra deal. My little brother could work out with me, right? So I think my brother was like 6th grade or 5th grade, right? 2 years behind. So 3 years behind, right? So 6th grade, we're rolling in. I'm going to 9th grade, right? And yeah, we'd be rolling, catching the bus to the gym, man. Like, and, you know, my dad put as much as he could into it, and we got a couple routines. And in between sessions, you know, like, we'd be working out there, and my trainer, Chris, would come over and help us out and, you know, keep us set and give us food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy, you know. Even in the end, not only did he dial me in for my first show, we ended up winning, like, a show out here.
Wow.
And we won like a real big thing in Hawaii, you know, came in 2nd place to a real veteran. And yeah, a lot of people were like, bro, you got robbed, you know, like the whole place was crazy, you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
I mean, they love the drama, right? Like,
yeah.
Getting us the thing. But yeah, so after that, you know, I got a little deeper into bodybuilding and found another coach out here. You know, there's certain supplements that bodybuilders run. And my guy, Chris, back home is a natural bodybuilder. And he's a very impressive bodybuilder. Extremely impressive, bro. Like, you know, to win your pro card in bodybuilding is very difficult, whether it's bikini, wellness, classic, or open. Open is the hardest shows to win. And traditionally, they've always been only giving out a few a year. So you really have to win it. So in the United States, there's only one show that's drug tested in the MPC. And it's a very old show in New Jersey, right? Like, so it's called the Team U. And Universe is open to everybody. So the whole world can come out. But when the winners get drug tested, blood tested, polygraph, whatever, you know what I mean? And so anyway, to win your card at this show, you have to win the overall, which I told you the overall is very hard to win.
Yeah.
There's 6 classes at a national show, and everyone from lightweight, which is 155, to a super heavyweight, which is 225. And traditionally at these big shows in this day and age, it's going to be a heavyweight, a super heavyweight, maybe a light heavyweight, right? Anybody under that winning is unheard of. So my guy Chris won this overall and won this prestigious pro card at 40 years old as a welterweight, which is 167 and a half. It was savage.
Yeah.
To this day, still legend, right? Just guy was passionate. Loved it. So he kind of transferred that passion into me. And, you know, coming out here and being away from home, you know what I mean? Like, I really found a lot of things, I guess sanctuary, right?
Yeah, solace maybe. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
peace.
where you, yeah.
Like, it was good. And without sports and stuff, that kind of became my sport and something to train for. And then, as I got deeper, is like, we talked about this, like, it's pretty dysfunctional sport.
Yeah.
There's no set way to do it, right? So, like, there's a set way to play football or run a marathon or, pole vault. You can get into any sport, and there's a very specific system, and there's variations of that system, and there's training systems for that. In bodybuilding, it's more art. So there's 100 ways you can do it. And because there's nothing set, we're constantly reinventing the wheel. And unfortunately, in my industry, a lot of us get hurt, and we go down these dysfunctional paths, whether they be in physical or metaphysical. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of all the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as bodybuilding goes, like, it's been just a blessing and a curse. But, the blessing of it is being able to help and, bring some of those experiences that brought me down that path, or that I've been able to help my other people with, and, kind of show people there's a different way. You don't have to do all the crazy drugs, and you don't have to kill yourself. But in that sport, and a lot of sports, we're celebrating martyrs almost, right? Strong people, right?
Yeah.
Very powerful, strong-willed people who are able to push through pain. And, man, those are the ones that we're kind of looking at and really idolizing, right? So it's okay to hurt. It's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you kind of justify that existence that way. So I see the look on your face. Never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But it's very, for some of us in bodybuilding, it's almost like a little more emotional, right? It's a little more of an intimate thing. It's not just working out to get in shape. That's a side effect, right? Obviously being like, when you get to a point of like weighing your food and to the gram and controlling it and making notes, and now we're talking a little different level of OCD, but at the same time, it's extremely consuming and extremely fulfilling, just doing what you're supposed to do, right? Following the plan. You know how it is. You run a coaching plan, the coaching program. But as far as bodybuilding, man, it's the control. It's the set life. It's the work of it. I kind of told you we're kind of like dogs, man. Dogs love to work. They're never full. You know what I mean? So it is more, and that's where we got into the newbie, is like adding that type of current of tech into our mix of what we're already doing. That extreme lifestyle really does push that limit and exaggerate not just issues and autoimmune issues or digestive issues, but it exaggerates the actual results, right? So somebody like you could achieve quite a bit with a Neufit.
Yeah.
Someone like me or my crew, we will quintuple that very quickly.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and you saw it today. You're like, bro, how did that guy, and just, literally when it's already set and you have that system set up, that machine is just gold. It's 10 times faster than what they said it is,
Yeah. Well, and you let me put the pads on you, throw a work.
Dude.
We did some before and after, and it was just like, oh my God,
master,
you blew up.
The master of podcasts, helping the godfather of current,
man.
right? So I tripped, man. That was a really good spin on
awesome.
things. And he did great, man. Pad didn't move. You know how many people I've tried to, I had an ex-girlfriend that I tried. And she operates a different device now, stole a bunch of my property, whatever. So I ain't going to be mad, right? But at the same time, it's like, dude, I can't tell you how many times I tried to make that thing, and she just couldn't figure it out. Frequencies, Joe, amazing, bro. And you know what is really cool about that? It was right after we fixed that shoulder. And, dude, my guy dialed in and clicked, and he was just like, I got you, Dom. And he's like, this is how I'm going to learn, right? This is my, and I already realized he's a kinetic learner. You got to poke him. You got to show him. He doesn't respond to visual. Not everyone responds to visual. Not everyone responds to literal. Yeah. So I think it's so cool that someone like you is like, all right, I'm down to come. It's like, yes, bro. Like, this is highlight of my week, man. It was good stuff, so. But yeah, the befores and afters of this stuff, because these systems are set up and because our population is a little different, they're definitely exaggerated. Like, to me, they really prove the work. And when I deal with somebody's mom or somebody's dog, it's easy compared to my 300-pound bodybuilder, right?
Right,
Or my 50-year-old female athlete who just won't give up, right? There's bone spurs and cartilage gone, and man, we still win our pro cards, right? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the Neufit has definitely allowed us to not just overcome those physical issues, reshape that body, reshape that structure, but really allow for the longevity of it, fix anything that is broken outside of maybe a full depth tear. But you saw it, bone spurring, soft tissue scarring, any type of restriction, autoimmune, like we bounce them out. And again, working through it, just like anything else, you know, you kind of learn a different way, a better way, and tie more things together. And these days, Clay and I be talking about like being mathematicians, right?
Just that's what you are.
Dialing frequencies, man.
Yeah.
It's resetting, living life by the living life by the code, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's been real fun, but really, really cool that you could see it though. Seriously.
Yeah, it was neat. What and then talk to me and talk to us about how you're still, you know, you're not, people don't know you're 9 weeks out from a competition, so you still do bodybuilding, but then you've also turned this passion for body work. Like how did the body work aspect, not a lot of bodybuilders do what you do and have such knowledge of the body. And I think that's what makes you so good. Well, there's a couple of things that make you really good. I think
Thanks,
one
bro.
is your growth mindset.
You're hyping me up.
No, but seriously, when I came here, you're just like, oh, I did this cert and this cert and this cert. I'm like, you just don't realize like how much knowledge you've stacked over the years. And then of course your bodybuilding experiment, like you said, you're dealing with guys. Yes, you can help someone like me who's dysfunctional and stuff. Like, let's just call it the average person, normal person.
And I told you, everybody's messed up, right?
Everybody's messed up.
We all messed up. We just human.
But bodybuilders, like you said, they're even more exaggerated. They're putting themselves. So it's really cool to see that you can help that population. But so I'm curious, what was it about? Like, how did you get? Now everyone kind of understands your bodybuilding path, but now how did you get into the bodyworking path and go, you know what? I'm seeing something here, and I want to. What was there a day that you remember where you're like, I need to start doing this?
It was a progressive thing, right? As a trainer and a corrective exercise trainer, I was working at a pretty high-end gym and made a really solid name for myself as a coach. And that's like as a competition coach, as a trainer. Corrective exercise at the time was kind of the thing. It was just like, oh wow, like, joint alignment and joint influence, and now you got foam rollers in all the gyms, right? You remember when that happened? You're like,
yes.
Wait, what's this round thing, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I remember the first time I looked at it, kicked it. I was like, what is this thing, right?
I don't need this.
Yeah.
What do I need this for?
Yeah, I think I went to some functional strength stuff, and kettlebells were getting really big. Went to an RKC kettlebell class, and they like made us take off our shoes. That blew my mind. And then now you're exposed to this thing called the gait, right? And it's like, wow, what is the gait? Look at this foot, right? You know what I mean? And just one thing led to another, I think, out of curiosity, and eventually I could influence quite a bit through training and systems. Like, so, before you work out, now it's normal. We used to call it prehab, but, we call it activation now, or mobility. So you get on the roller, you do a couple movements, then you go bend the joint, distract the joint. You do a couple more movements, maybe some cars or whatever you're trying to do, hip rotations. From there, you turn on the weaker muscles, so you kick backs, you do abduction, maybe some side planks, whatever. Everyone does different stuff. Scap. There's no right way to do it. There's 10,000 combinations with these joint integrity exercises. Either way, it primes your system, very similar to like a swimmer, where they kind of do this. Everyone kind of does the same thing, right? Sprinters, they go, stop. They're just priming their bodies to explode. And what we're doing with this system, the original system, was more or less priming the body to move. Everything's through movement. So just like we were experiencing with your skin and the myodermal layers, the myodermal tone. That space in between the skin and muscle is so important because, if it moves, that allows movement. So here it's a little bit weird, so that doesn't give me as much movement. So when your whole body is really tight and really, really, the skin is very taut, right? Like it's just really dense. So it doesn't allow movement, so it doesn't shear. And the trigger point sends a crappy signal into the brain all day. And then your whole body kind of locks up, right? If you go a very long time like this, it's extremely uncomfortable. Hence your brother, you, pretty much everybody you've ever worked on, right?
Yeah.
And, the Neufit is great because it's on the skin, the myodermal tone, and a lot of that prickly sensation you're feeling is actually blood rushing the area, which creates space. Now, in the end, if you don't create the right movement, you don't train the movement, or say in the real life you didn't do that movement right, it's not going to really give you the same signal, right? So corrective exercise is really important. Learning how to influence those movements, so there's a reason why your elbow won't go back. There's X amount of things you need to start doing. Plug in. To me, it was almost like an RX, right? I was like, oh, wow, exercise RX, right? It's a prescription. So I went pretty far on that. Ended up training all the trainers at this gym, like really high-end gym. Apparently, it was like the best gym in Scottsdale, right? Or the best gym in Arizona, and I trained like 32 out of the 35 contractors. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm the trainer's trainer, right? And then the pros started coming through. And, they're a little different breed. At the time, I had the stretch therapy certification. So I started with like an FST, right? Level 1, and got to a couple others. The local school out here at the time was doing like basically like courses, you know, in person. Obviously not anymore with I don't know how you gonna learn from here, bro. You gotta just keep coming out here.
I know.
Kinetic learners,
I know,
right?
yeah.
But anyway,
you don't learn online. That's what you told me. I'm like, you're right.
I mean,
yeah.
I think learning the information is one thing, but like when you practical apply, and in the situation, it's going to change over and over again. How many different people have we seen this week? And it's all different. Everyone, maybe the same problem, but trying to get to that root issue and then tie in what's going on and then figure out what's causing it, right? So sometimes we skip that whole process. Like, you know, with your shoulder day, we didn't have to clean it up again. We just turned it on, right? You know, so like some of these athletes are not that bad, or they're doing so much on their own. They're getting massages, doing chiro, they're jumping in the cold plunge. You know, they're essentially biohacking as well, you know, with red lights and IV therapy, and some of them are even going as far as nervous system stuff like the brain tap or what were you talking about? There's a little thing that your boy was wearing.
Hap B.
All kinds of weird stuff is coming out, right?
Yeah.
Supplements and you know, hottest supplements on the market right now are stress and digestion supplements, which are all symptoms of being sympathetic.
Right? Yeah.
So you know, as far as that goes, it's just a signal. So like we talked about earlier, bruised, broken, or bleeding, it's not really real. So even in real life, you could influence that through the right RX and the right mobility stuff. A lot of people like yourself might be stretching too much, right? It's tight, so let me stretch it. So one of the biggest concepts we go over and what I try and teach my practitioners as well as my clients, any trainer that sends clients to me where I'm helping them with their body work or their competition skills, whatever, we're plugging things in, almost like I said, coding. But you know, in the end, it's about being long and short. Everything's tight. You know, that's a subjective word to me, right? So is it too long and weak? I know weak is a very hard word to digest sometimes, right? You know, like I'm not weak,
right?
But I have a weak scapula, and that's why I'm sitting here and I keep adjusting, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so anyway, one scap is a little weaker than the other, and all of a sudden here, and now it's an eye issue, right? And the vestibular issue, you're like, man, why can't I hear out of this ear, right? Or like, man, you turn your head to the left and you almost fall over, right? And, so my population is very much subject to this because everything we do is in a fixed plane. We don't really move, right? You know, our heads don't move. So a lot of those training and those pieces are coming into play just because I'm running out of things to do with the bodywork stuff. I was like, okay, wait, there's a reason why it keeps coming back. Now that I look at her eye, the eye isn't working. So I started looking into it. And it's like, so I don't know, with the bodybuilding world, man, like it was out of forced progression. I mean, I had clients and they needed something. And unfortunately, stretch therapy wasn't enough. Like I was like, man, like he goes pretty far, but then you get stuck. And then it's almost dangerous. Like, am I stretching something out that's good or bad? It's not really covered. Yeah, so you kind of go into your like, and then for a long time, it's like, okay, you know, it's kind of piecing together and then tying the chains together, you know, and I had a PT at the time who was helping me and putting my body as a dry needle pistoner before dry needling was a thing. He was one of the first guys out here, taught school at ASU, NEU, all these different classes. But, you know, didn't really have a lot of clients, man. He was just like so good at what he did. He just couldn't sell it or whatever. He didn't have time. Yeah. So, you know, I took a lot of my clients at the time and we kind of comboed. Like he does the dry needle, directs me how to train them, all this other stuff. He got so busy, so fast. Probably within a couple of years, he was booked for like 12 or 15 weeks. I was just like, bro, like my people, and he's, you know, he's getting more petty and different things are happening. Sometimes people just get overworked, right? Different circumstances in their lives, and maybe I wasn't the most grateful person. You know what I mean? Who knows? You always look back on that afterwards. And, either way, I ended up picking up some skills myself, right? So I started with like a rolling pin, like straight up roller, bro. Like, so yeah, I would roll them, I would distract them, I would do PNF activation stretching, so just stack, right? Yeah. And then we go train. And man, I was pretty successful. A lot of those people that were enrolled in that kneeling program ended up being fixed through my movement program. And whatever, fix is just not hurting anymore, right? Yeah. Compared to what we're doing right now. Like, you know, we playing with Duplos, but at the time, nobody had Duplos, right? It was legit, you know what I mean? And from there, I ended up getting like a gua sha cert, Arizona School of Chinese Medicine. It's not far, but pretty renowned. You have to kind of jump through some hoops to get it. So I ended up getting, I wanted to do acupuncture. I'm going to be a dry needler. Yeah. Dude, that was a 3-year program. I was like, bro, I don't have time for that. Like 5 days a week. Yeah. Like, so I took it, I bailed on it early enough and transferred to gua sha, fire cupping. some other manual forms of therapy. And then as you go through it, you realize, okay, you're just creating space. All you're trying to do is create movement. And eventually it's like a joint issue. So then, you start learning a little more about joints, right? Mobility, mobs, that's what I call them, right? And kind of set this joint up to work a little bit better, and then maybe take out another joint out of the equation. We elevate the heels or something, right? And voila, now we're like starting to hack for movement, and then getting more into recovery, right? But again, it's just because the level of competitor got higher. At one point, it was like Miss Olympia, multiple Miss Olympias, and working with a very, very prestigious coach. He's sending these people into me. They're in town for one day. I need this, and this done. I'm like, bro, I got 45 minutes, right? It's just like, okay, let's get it, right? My hands hurt, my neck hurts. But that's the challenge of it, right? As an athlete, it's something that I guess we're able to do sometimes, right? Where you're just like, you can dig in and grind out. And that's kind of the fun of it, right? How hard can you push? And, the conclusion rate got higher and higher, and we're winning more and more shows, tons of pro cards. I end up getting contracted by a DO's office, and that really allowed, I guess, some extra freedom eventually. We built up this program, started getting a cut of it. Either way, you managed the program, and now that allowed me to travel and take out some targets, right? So I had X amount of people I wanted to work with, and those people led me to other people, and eventually, I was in Vegas in the middle of all of it, right? You saw it, man. It was crazy.
Pretty cool last year,
It was cool, and I think it's one of those things, too, where you like, you hustle, you get to the very top, and you realize, like, all right, this isn't really that fun. You proved it. And, I had a friend that he went into a coma out here, and that's where the FSM started. I was like, man, I got to get ready when he's able to come out of that coma, right? And so I ditched all my contracts, said goodbye to my people. Some people were mad, some people were happy. I think in the end, I'm just trying to find an excuse to come back, right? I never really wanted to go that far. I just wanted to work with these people, right? And it's just like one thing, I just wanted to win some shows, man. Like, I don't know. You learned a lot with that crew. It was like some of the most elite coaches in the world. So how could I say no? I just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, oh, you want to be at this gym? I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then eventually I'm like, wait, I'm out here like 4 days a week, and my dogs and my girlfriend at the time was going crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, my program, my people are like, man, when are you coming back? I have a lot of people out here. I've been working for years in these areas. But either way, as far as like bodybuilding goes, like it's not a necessity, right? Like some of these people I really like. Some of them are really good human beings. Some of them help you a lot. They promote your business, and I don't know, out of obligation, you just be like, man, like, all right, I got you. Nobody else can do it.
Yeah.
I'll take my shot, right? You pull out your app and your pain app, and you start Googling, and all you can do is experiment. And because they're such elite athletes, their nervous systems run a little differently. So they can provide you this X amount of feedback and X amount of direction. So it was really cool to almost experiment on my friends and my family and my people. To be able to help someone like you or your brother or that fibromyalgia patient that came in, or the guy that had Hashimoto's we didn't even know, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it all kind of ties in. I got people that hire me for full depth pec tears rebuild, and I find colonitis, and I find plantar fasciitis or whatever it is. Something's wrong with their feet. It's not working, right? Yeah, maybe there's one girl I treated for a while, kept fixing her hip, rehabbed everything, tested out everything. It was perfect. It wasn't moving. She's like, man, it hurts. I'm like, dude, you need to go to the hospital. Like, just get an organ check. Whatever, you got good insurance, dude. A couple of days later, she's like, dude, I had a parasite, man. Like, I'm taking all these meds. Wow. I'm like, dude, man, like, you got to stop going to Mexico and partying, right? Yeah, she went like 2 weeks later. I'm just saying, though, like, it's never really what you think. And now that we have our Neufits, too, like, the parasite is actually pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Maybe it's parasite, maybe it's not. Let's just run it. It's out. Like, if they start feeling better, you're like, huh, that's what it was, right? It's like, I mean, and you can start stacking stuff. I got a couple different machines, so you know how I do it. I'll leave them on the table. I'll go do my thing. You just got to make sure you have enough food and water and whatever it is. But yeah, like as long as the client's willing to, and those bodybuilders, they're willing to do anything. Right? Yeah. That population, it's more fun to work with them. To me, as a practitioner looking for results, as opposed to an NFL player or a collegiate soccer player. You know what I mean? Some of those soccer players are the most, like, they're hardest ones to fix because they're just so mentally like tough, right? You know what I mean? But bodybuilders and stuff, we're very learned. We're a very learned like group, especially if like you're one of us. Like they'll listen, you know, especially if you have something that makes sense. We're all looking for an edge, and we're all looking to get better. And again, at the same time, there's no book out that puts it all together. There's thousands of books, but
Yeah.
you all end up with surgery with a lot of them at some level, right? You know what I mean? So finding ways to deter that outcome. You know, it's a normal thing to have hernias. It's a normal thing to have bulging discs. It's a normal thing to have shoulder repairs and stuff, bicep tendon tears. Constant. The F3 goes on and on and on and on. And now it's turning into autoimmune. Now it's turning into endocrine problems. Now it's turning into colonitis. And, like, obviously all the stress that's happening in the world, it is spilling into my gym.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I was listening to you talk. First of all, two things. One is, for people that don't know, over the last year, Dom was flying back and forth to Vegas and I didn't know.
Driving.
Bro. Oh, you're driving. Okay.
I loved it. It
wow,
cool.
you're
I like to drive.
As you would say, you're a savage.
Savage.
Yeah, because like I don't know, like that's 10 hours for me. That's a drive. But you were at this place called the Dragon's Lair, which I had no idea. And so I learned by watching, some of the stuff. And anybody that, if you didn't know anything about like bodybuilding or whatever, like these are like the most elite guys all train at this gym. And then and I'm watching you, and like, cause you're posting your stories and you get to see some of the people you're hanging out. Dude, I can't use the word healing or whatever, but you're really getting these people back quick. And I mean, these guys are the highest like level competitors. These are Mr. Olympias, Mrs. Olympias, and you were working with these high caliber people. So just to like, I know you're being very humble, but like, it's huge for what you were, and the results are crazy.
I appreciate you, bro. And like I said, with that clientele, they're such an elite system, and they're already doing everything. They're eating all the food. They're taking all the supplements. They have massage therapy. They have endocrinic stuff. They have their own prescriptions. Like, you know what I mean? It's all those bases are covered except for somebody tying it together.
Right.
And they have their coaches. They have their nutritionists. They have their PTs, whatever, right? But the traditional modality and mindset of therapy is fixing. I look at that as an optimizing, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, okay, your shoulder hurts. I get you. But I'm looking at it, that shoulder don't work, right? Like, and there's certain things like, in the beginning, I would tear that thing up. I would tear it up. I would break it all the way down.
Yeah.
I would retrain it. I would go for broke. And then I would go through the pieces there. As long as you're willing to hustle with me, good. I mean, I've never had a lawsuit. I've never had anything bad happen. I get these clients, like, that's why I try and be humble, right? Like, I mean, you can say what it is, but without like bragging, and it's hard, to this day and age. Like, unfortunately, sometimes people aren't resonating with the fact that you're doing well, or that you don't have a degree, or maybe you didn't deserve it. They didn't see what I had to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you saw it because you watched my stories, right? Like, and you didn't even see all of it. You don't even know half of it. But that being said, like, you go through it and you earn something, and you make. I guess you're pushing something different. And unfortunately, a lot of us who are watching this may be biohackers, and maybe like people pushing some different ideals, and you get scrutiny. For me, it kind of just pissed me off and made me go a little harder, right? Yeah. So I was just like, bro, I will show you. Yeah. And then after one of my people smokes your people on stage, I'm going to go ask you how you did, right? And then you watch me take a picture with the winner, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, all right. And that's the best way, I think, to get back. It's like, not even get back, to prove yourself. And maybe it's a little unhealthy, maybe it's not. It ended up in progression. Yeah. By the time I realized it, that, like, I was a little tired and I was pretty beat up. Like, it was a little too late. So that's kind of where the FSM started coming around, right? Yeah, bringing yourself back. And eventually your neck hurts from driving, It's like, man, I have to pull over a couple of times and, like, work on my neck. How ridiculous. The industry's bodyworker and
I saw you doing a protocol while you were driving one time.
Oh, dude, I'd be rolling, bro. Yeah. Like, I got pretty sick from that too, right? Like, way too long on the car. But that being said, again, we're extremists, and with that level of athlete, they're doing so much. So whatever I do, if they trust me, and there's a lot of research showing, like, there's a lot of healing and progression and touch, love. Somebody who cares, right? Like, maybe they care just as much as you, or maybe more. And a lot of people, you'll see them, their foot starts turning out, their hip starts dropping. Oh shoot, this guy knows what he's doing, whether I do or not. With that type of clientele, to me, I got to this point of being very much more received, nobody really looked at it like where it was crazy anymore, right? So being able to come back to Arizona, being able to come back to my home where all my crew was.
Yeah.
And you know, I lost some of them in the mix of it. Some people just want to be around you when you're coming up.
Yeah.
Other people, yeah, and you know, Joel, like it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
You ain't gonna make everybody happy, but
yeah.
You know, even in the end, you know, we got some people that, you know, they'll take all the work and they'll sing your praises and they'll push you for a while until you ain't really helping them for free anymore, or you're asking for something back, or whatever. Or maybe you know they're using you to facilitate their crappy system. You know, and
right?
Everybody in their program is broken. So at some point, you know, like I'm kind of weird like that. You got to know me. I'd rather just not participate, right? And, from there, you know, like you get, I guess, animosity, and over time, that's what we're talking about as far as like hurting and everything. The very source of everything is that emotional component.
Completely, yeah. We talked a lot about that this weekend.
Everyone's got it, man, and it's like we're only human, and we have to power through, and society tells us we have to be strong. And again, those people are celebrated. The ones that are savage, like Kobe Bryant, just the
David
beast,
Goggins, right?
Oh, dude, beast mode, right?
Yeah.
And you watch it, you be like, all right, I gotta go work out.
I
Right?
gotta suffer a little
I'm
bit.
a freaking pussy, right? Like, so suffering is good. Resilience is good. Garrett at Neufit teaches us resilience, putting yourself into difficult positions to work yourself out. You start breaking down basic human psychology and what is happiness. Happiness is surviving. Happiness is progressing. It's powering through. It's perseverance. So first thing that happens, you almost fall off of something. Someone grabs you. You start laughing, right? You're like, oh my God, bro, thank God. And you have this endorphic rush.
Yeah.
And it's very much simulated through training, right? You know? And like when you've been through a great workout, and after you're just like dopamine and
adrenaline,
and
whatever,
epinephrine and endorphins.
Yeah.
And acetophenone, and like it just like all these different chemicals are happening, and it's this ultimate high. So you throw some music in there and you do it outside. Now we have all these different stimuluses happening.
Yeah.
And the more intense that workout is, the more uncomfortable it is without killing you. You know, the more progression it's going to force. Now, here's the trick about that: is your body gets stuck into that progression. You either need to taper down and come down slow. You can't just stop. And that's where things get a little weird, right? So average person, they'll come to the gym for a while. They'll get decent results in that 4 to 6 weeks, those rookie gains. Then things start happening, or life slows down, and then it doesn't become important. But they built X amount of imbalances there, right? Then they come back, and then they try again in a few months. Now they build the imbalances even more. So the way I look at it, everybody can get results. It's just more or less like how many imbalances they have, how many different chains are not working. So you think of every little piece as a percentage. You got 15 things wrong, you know, like, I mean, which is pretty common. Yeah, right? You've seen it, like, and these are elite athletes. Doesn't matter. A human is a human, right? What we talk about, the human asymmetry, was something that blew your mind, right? Like,
you're like, hey, we're all asymmetrical, and it was done as a way of survival. It was, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, and everybody's different. They all have a different pattern. So, you know, the shoulder being a little higher, the hand, this finger not working as good, whatever. You know, you fall and you injure yourself, and it creates asymmetry, right? So basically this way, when you fall, you kind of shift around things. I said Tom Brady around stuff. You didn't get my joke. When Tom Brady gets hit, he just kind of does. Right? You know what I mean? Everyone loves it. And dude, Tom Brady's a man. He's playing catch with the throwing machine. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, like the GOAT, right? Just a savage.
Yeah.
And
I know he has a lot of Super Bowls, so I mean that's.
But his combine as an athlete was awful, right? And it's just like, but his vestibular system is superior, right? His balance and his adjustment, like it's actually insane. You see him on the eye doing his eye training and stuff. He has a trainer.
Yeah.
That is a bad trainer, bro. Like, I mean, he covers all the bases for what Tom Brady does.
Yeah.
So, you know, I saw that and I was just like, man, I want to be a little more like specialty that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to take that 10th place guy and let's bring him into like the first. And we did it a couple times, right?
Yeah.
Like, take a nobody and dark horse him through. And really you're just looking at the class, finding out what they need, and then creating that situation. So whether that's mechanical, whether that's fixing something, whether that's optimizing, or even communicating with the coach and figuring out what exercises to do. You know, that was a pretty tricky deal for a while, and sometimes it still gets me where, you know, sometimes they'll be really happy and really stoked until you start getting credit for it, right? You know, so it's a very tricky situation. That being said, you know, you asked me earlier, what am I working on next. So a lot of this is like transitioning this bodywork program, this biohacking system for performance and optimizing for being successful in your fitness and your weight loss and your physical goals, right? Obviously this ties into your metaphysical world and your perception of what's happening. When your shoulder was messed up, Joel, you know, until earlier your hip, I felt like you're almost hard to figure out, right? Yeah, you're all over the place, right? You know, you laugh, right?
Well, I want to people don't, I'm laughing because I want people to understand. I'm on the table, and you're giving me some. I want people to understand what Dom's talking about because I don't think they will unless I explain it. So I'm on the table. I'm on the table. No, I'm on the table, and Dom's giving me some very clear instructions. Do this, do this, do this. And I'm not doing it correctly. I'm not doing it. Not that I'm not doing it on purpose. And so
he tried his hardest.
Yeah, I tried to do what he asked me to do. Believe me, I did. And I wasn't doing it. And so Dom looked at me and he's like, what's your deal? Like, what's going on for you? Like emotionally, like what is that always something like you did, right? Or why? And so what I'm trying to explain to people is, and what I think you're getting at is, a lot of root cause from pain is emotional, and some of the things, and when you start to unwind, and then what I told you, I was like, yeah, I mean, I've always been that way. I've always been, and you're like, yeah, well, you need to stop, and it's like even just saying that like can make you relax, and like some of the pain, the emotional.
Oh, he killed it. He killed it.
The trauma, right?
Yeah. So I mean, but a lot of that is what it means.
But a lot of intuition on your part, by the way.
I appreciate you, bro. Perception. I mean, you know, like. I mean, some people call themselves empaths. Like, I ain't going to say I'm an empath. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't even know what empathy means, right? Like, I don't have rocks in my pocket, and I don't do any chakra stuff, but I believe in that system.
Yeah.
It actually lines up with different systems I already know. Color mapping, metaphysical lines. We're talking like internal chains. Chains of Movement is a great book, and it's weird where those chains intersect. Are where the damn chakras are, right? So to me, like everything is the same.
Yeah.
Really, it's all the same. It's the same system, just like religion. It derives from one something and it just progressed, right? And different people, just like fitness or training or coaching, it's really evolved into a lot of different ways, right? And I don't even think anything's really right.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, like what's right for the person or what they need at the time. You know, for me and stuff and all like, you know, getting into that, you know, creating a system where now it's all inclusive. You can get your body work, your reprogramming, your training, your FSM, your recovery. We have manual versions of recovery, super BFRs, and you know, automated BFR bands, which are awesome. You saw me use. Oh, you saw me use that one guy. He went from here and just like he's like, man, how did you know it was his bicep? I was like, bro, I did everything right shoulder, and it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ran some FSM for bone scarring, I think. Right.
Yep. That's what it was.
Because we figured, man, we don't have an MRI, but man, that's really weird.
Well, he went from what percentage? I forget. And then when I saw him, he went from he was like 70% better, I think.
Oh,
right?
God, easy.
But then by the end of your treatment that I got to see, he was what, like 90?
Done.
Or he texted you. He texted you in a couple hours. He's like, oh my God.
We're talking like night and day. He was like, bro, I feel amazing. He's like, God bless you. You know, sending me extra money on Venmo. He's just super grateful guy. He went a long time just being restricted, and my population would just work around it.
Yeah, keep grinding.
And then eventually I'm going to get surgery, right? I need a shoulder replacement. I need this. Man, you know, when you start getting second, third, and fourth opinions, very rarely do I see where it's like conclusive, right? Everybody else, like you talk to a surgeon, he's going to tell you surgery. You talk to a chiro, he's going to tell you chiro, right?
Yeah.
Like, you talk to a corrective exercise or a Neufit guy, I'm going to tell you the Neufit, bro. I got you, right?
Yeah.
Like, so,
yeah.
I don't know, like, well, again, there's a lot of studies showing when somebody's receptive and they trust the individual, then like it works better, right? Whatever you do, it could be the exact same treatment someone else did, but if you can get across your point and push that empathy and make them believe and make them do the damn work, right? Like sometimes it's like you got to do a bunch of work. You're gonna have to do X amount of rehab. It's not a magical potion. You can't just keep benching the shitty bench you do, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes you get these people where like that's what body work is. No. You mobilize me, I pay you. It's like, nah, man. Like you breaking and you get surgery, it makes me look really bad, actually. You know what I mean? So so getting that point across and finding out why they want to be better, why they want therapy. They're not just getting body work to get body work. Some people do.
Yeah.
Just need the physical touch, right?
Yeah.
You know, get addicted to it. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an interesting mindset we're trying to change as Neufit therapists, as Neufit trainers. Even more interesting in my industry, it's definitely an uphill swim, but we're making progress through the wins and through the people, right? So like you can't deny results. I always say it. Nah, man, the befores and afters are the same. No filter needed.
Yeah.
And people will look at me and be like, man, you're cocky or you got an ego. It's like, bro, I really don't.
Yeah.
Do all this for free, man. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't even need your money. In fact, like, I don't want your money. You can't get service, right? Like, so I don't know. It's hard too, because as a healer or as a fixer, you always want to get the best out of people, and it's very disappointing sometimes when they don't give you their best, right? But obviously we have to learn how to do it. We're like out of empathy and being more like, okay, I'm going to do it to do it. So in the end, I look at it, even if I get screwed over on something, no, they don't do their part, or they don't pay, or whatever, they don't fulfill their contract with me, or whatever it is. In the end, probably would do it anyway, right? So
Yeah.
why even be mad, right? You know what I mean? So at the same time, look what I learned on that guy.
Right.
And you signed the contract you signed my contract of the liability of being able to use any pictures and anything I want. So I still got the proof, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you constantly put it out there, and some people grab onto it, some people get mad. But eventually a lot of those people who got mad will come back, and, they'll need work and they'll need help, and maybe they're just mad because of something else, right? So it's hard when all you're dealing with is dysfunction, and you understand there's a lot of anxiety with that, right?
Yeah.
Now we had a cocktail of weird drugs that your weird coach put you on to win, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you're gonna tell them they think you should keep your elbows in. Like, why should I keep my elbows in? Calm down, bro. Like, I am just trying to help. So you gotta be like, hey, have you ever tried doing it like this? Like, is that still? No, it's not any pressure on my shoulders. Like, I feel it's a lot better. Wow, man, maybe you should try doing it. Yeah, maybe I should. It's like this crazy push-pull. But at the same time, when you see the results, not everyone's like that. I'm just saying, like, I got some people who just like you. They'll listen. You tell me what to do. You saw your brother work.
Yeah.
Honed in, right?
Yeah.
Navy SEAL, right? So I got a lot of those, and you saw some of them. Some of them started just like like anybody else, where they don't have connection. So I tell them they'll enter or rotate, they'll push up. Like, bro, like I'll let them go, and they'll be like, how did that happen, right? Like, no, man, like bring it. So it might take you a few times. Some of it is like you got to condition them to be successful, and unfortunately, that process sometimes for some people needs to be a little bit harder to be fast, right? But at the same time, if you're there for the right reasons, if we're all here working together, first thing you did when you was like, man, like, dude, like I did it. I'm like, hell yeah, bro. Yeah. We're like celebrating together. We wanted to stop and just go get a beer, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know, good coach, we be your best fans, and at the same time, we're coaching. You can't. It's objective, right? And bodywork is objective. I'm not following my intuition or my chakra. I'm looking at a movement. Okay, to me, this looks like here. Let's test it. We use a dynamometer, which is PSI in joules. Comes with a 90% average. It's great. It gives us an idea. Then we look at another movement, and maybe you have some feedback. We get 3 or 4 things that are set. Let's try it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously with them and with the system, it's become more and more thorough. So I'm really happy to report, 100% conclusion in all pain. It is now September. Craziness. I'm trying to go the whole year one of these years.
Yeah.
I had a couple years ago, the guy messed it up in the last week. I was so upset. Yeah. And what you going to be upset? Because this guy, but it's like somebody I shouldn't have taken. I told the girlfriend I didn't want to do it. I worked with him. I got lucky last time. No, you're the only one. Paid me all this money. Gave me all this praise. Came in. Yeah, it didn't work. I was like, okay.
You ruined your streak.
Ruined it. I haven't even tried since then, right? But anyway, the whole thing about like the bodybuilding and that whole system and putting things together and out of progression, and eventually we kind of ended up with something like all in its own. Like Neufit's part of that.
You really did,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, but I be trying to stack hacks, right? Like, so I do the other day, we did bone scarring, right? And then we did electric IASTM, which is instrument-assisted soft tissue manipulation. I'm running the current through the IASTM tool, which shouldn't be conducting, but for some reason it does, right? It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And, dude.
You're getting some crazy results.
Crazy results. It opens
Quickly.
up that layer quick.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes.
And I have some video I shot just on my iPhone, which I'll eventually post. But you did on my brother on his neck, and he couldn't even move his neck all the way flat on the table, just by doing one side of his neck in the jaw, scalenes, the mastoid. All of a sudden, boom, neck goes all the way flat. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like maybe 3 minutes of that, and boom, we got some immediate results.
I think in the end, there's other people even trying it, but like, when you're scraping, there's a certain touch to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be monkey work, but it's not. You can't just hire some random person to scrape you up. That myodermal layer is of sympathy. That means its job is to detect and protect you from the elements and what's going on. So you start jamming needles, you start scraping, you start running a weird cup over it or whatever. You leave a bunch of cups on there, it's just you leave a giant mark. That's getting set in the signal. And that's why there's such a, repetition in bodywork and chiropractic and all this. And God knows, I'm not saying any of it's bad.
Yeah.
Just depends on the person. But for people like ourselves, who go far enough to drop on a $20,000 new stem, like, man, we tried a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of different versions of it. So when you think about signals, you're disrupting signals. So the way I looked at it, I was like, all right, so like it's like binary code. And I'll look at it and like, you're watching the cold code and there's like a little number off here and there. You're like, oh, wow, that's kind of weird, right? And you start looking at it or asking them questions. Eventually, that binary code actually has a pattern of bad numbers. And with the Neufit, if you understand those numbers in that system, you can just plug it in.
Yeah. One of the fascinating things as I'm listening to you talk is, especially because you've had to work with such elite athletes and bodybuilders, and people that are, flying in to come see you in like one day.
That's been awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a nobody. I straight up stole toilet paper from the first gym I worked at, as ridiculous as it is. But, we have people coming in to and putting their careers in on the line.
Yeah.
On this chance. And, man, God willing, we win pro cards all the time. It's been
all the time. Yeah. And I mean, again, anybody just check out your stories. It's not like you're bragging. You just check out the stories, like, boom, at pro athlete, took number 1, placed. All these people. I mean, just amazing stuff. But I'm hearing you, and as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking, man, you very quickly it's like you had to decode dysfunction and what's going on with these people very quickly, like, because they only had 45 minutes or they're flying out to see you.
And they're really impatient, right?
Yeah, they're different. They're a different class of people.
You gotta go. They expect the world from me now. I mean, like, man, I ain't Moses, right? But I'll give you a shot, right? And then you start thinking about, but I don't know.
But do you think that like helped you really
exactly? It's pressure.
Quickly get to. I feel like. Yeah, I wonder if that was like a way that accelerated your game and made you
1,000%.
Yeah.
Some of it, like maybe the spite of certain people not giving you value, or maybe like, I don't know, proving your own worth. A lot of us, I told you, a lot of people in the gym and that get to that level, there's something wrong. Like, let's be real. Like the OCD and weighing my food out and planning my day and stressing about my food and doing the training. And you saw the training I put some of those guys through, right? Some of my people through today. It was pretty nasty. Like, you know, and we're trying to get a maximum amount of time, maximum attention without spilling over. I have to use my intuition, all this. But, you go by what they give. They're already eating the food I told them. A lot of them are my athletes, people I'm building up. So I'm in control of a lot of that. So they are set up to go through the grinder. And I've been building them up through the body work, where now we're bulletproofing and resetting. Very few people you saw were out of whack like that, right? Clean. Yeah. No. So, and that's the cool thing is you get that all set up, that input, that positive input of tension, wellness, support, emotional well-being. It contributes to a much cleaner, much faster progression with a lot less dysfunction. So it does make a prettier physique. In my industry, that's everything, is that flow and that cleanness. And you don't want to break them trying to turn them pro, or you don't want to break them getting them to their goals. Far too often in my industry, somebody will lose a ton of weight and they'll just blow right back up, like a next level of it. We actually have a name for it right now. It's called metabolic syndrome, right? It's a general category. 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. If it wasn't a common thing, nothing I ever heard of as a trainer, right? Yeah, like, so it's more and more coaches, right? God bless everybody trying to do good by people and trying to help people in fitness, because a lot of those people have been influenced positively by fitness, right? Or some sort of system. now they're directing other people, or they're making, a $45 plan, and everybody gets the same plan. It's like, man, you understand what we're doing, right? Yeah. So, I saw that need for it, and I was like, man, like, I need to get this out. There's such an easier way to do it. Like, I don't know, you'll never really get around that, where some people are just working out to work out, or they're just working out to feel better. And, when I was younger, I had a real problem. I was like, man, that doesn't make any sense to me. As I get older, man,
you're wired different.
Well, I'm wired different because I'm on a mission. And I put so much of myself, I lost so much for it. And I gained so much from it, right?
Yeah,
so
I totally understand that.
I have to finish. And it's just like anything else. Like some people just finish school to finish school, right? I did my first show in 2009. So like I should have already did it, right? And I had to take some time off because I needed to learn this stuff from my people. I got distracted. But as I went through it, now that I'm at this choke point where it's like, okay, wait, like I kind of win all my regionals. I'm always a good competitor. I understand how to influence. Let's see how much farther we can take it.
Yeah.
And, hiring the right team, the political campaign of it, or even all the little tricks and turns I learned from all these pros and all these coaches. Because even working with their coaches, it was really cool to see how they were bringing their people in. And I was like, wow, that's how they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it's just this like life.
Different level, right?
Different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's a different level of results and different level of control and different level of influence into that athlete and giving them what they want. It's just been night and day as far as my own prep, right? Or even being in that right mindset. I met enough champions where I'm like, wow, that's a pretty similar trait this person has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, what would this person do in this situation? I think about it, all right, like that's what I'm going to do, right? And yeah, I don't know. It's hard though when you're looking at yourself as objectively like anything else. You're trying to make life changes or something. You got to look at it as like, oh yeah, I'm a jerk, right? You got to fix it. That was real hard, man. My glutes suck, right? You're like, I don't even see my glutes. How am I gonna look at them, right? Like, so I really do need.
You need a coach. You need someone to give you perspective, right?
Perspective, objective perspective, without blowing smoke. Problem with a lot of coaches these days, man, you're awesome. They just want your money or they just want the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's sad. And I get a lot of people coming to me where they're like, oh yeah, my coach says I'm gonna win pro, and I'm just like, I hope so. Like, what are you supposed to say? Like, God bless your heart, right? Like, well, let's give it your best shot. And sometimes it's just like, like there's too much riding on that. And I've been blamed for something like that where it didn't work out, even though there was no chance in the world for it, right? So it's like, sometimes like that emotional trauma of it, you're going to like deter that work or deter that point. But in the end, it's just about helping people, right? Like anything else, stick to the work, push the level, and remember the Neufit mission and what you're pushing for, right? So you don't really get a life by what you make. It's more like by what you give. Yeah. And I find I find if you give enough, good stuff comes back to you. It always works out, right?
Yeah. Amen to that, dude. I've learned that so much in my life too. Even the more I put myself out there, in a scary way, it could be scary, right? But then I align and attract with the people that I need in my life or that are good in my life. And it's amazing. The more you give, the more
you definitely have that sixth sense, though. You just kind of wander and you bump into something good.
Well, we were talking about that.
Like a movie.
Yeah, we were talking about
movie,
that.
Odd Thomas, I think, one of his skills, he finds the bad guy, right? He'll just wander around and he bumps into it. It's just so uncanny ability. But I'm like, Joe, you really have like worked with some elites, like. That's really cool. I was like, why do you still need me? He's like, bro, you have something different. Teach, right? And I'm just like, all right, cool. But I don't know, like, you always appreciate those minds. They're rare these days. Everyone's so comfortable and they're distracted, right? Everyone's distracted. Nobody really wants to help each other.
And on that note, I think that's what makes you so special is that, you could learn a method like school, right? Mm-hmm. Go in school. This is how you add. But like you're someone who I see, it's like, I'm not going to school. I'm not going to follow the ABC route. I'm going to go around this way. And so you look at the problem in a different manner than like someone who went to traditional school. And I think that's what makes you really so talented and good. Just, an observation, and so you put everything together and you're like, oh, let's do this. Let's do that. And that I think makes you get quicker. You quickly get to the problem.
Well, isn't that what geometry was? And then trigonometry. It's all to kind of do it faster. Because like rocket science, like, man, you can take this like unbelievable number here that would take you hours to do traditional math.
Right.
And then you throw down on this rocket science or this trigonometry crap. I never made it that high. I was good at geometry, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm good at angles and training, right? Oh, wow, that kind of looks like it needs to be this angle. with this person's pelvis length and this person's knee flexion.
Yeah.
It kind of has to be like this at this angle, and you can achieve that in a much better manner without destroying their knees and their neck, right? You know what I mean? Causing 7 other issues. But yeah, like you start looking at it different, man, and it doesn't have to be like that traditional way. I mean, isn't that what's gotten us all in trouble, right? Like, I mean, just following something blindly. That's what the medical industry is right now. That's what it's like. People are just like brainwashed. Yeah. Like, I have this. I'm like, okay, like, how do you know? Who told you that? My chiropractor. He's not even he's not qualified to tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, how did he know? Did he have X-rays, MRIs? No. Did he watch you move around? No. How the fuck do you know, right? Yeah. Like, I just be like, man, to me, this, and like, how often is it the other side? Okay, you have damage in this shoulder, so I come in, my shoulder's hurting, my neck's hurting, specifically the shoulder.
Yeah.
But then there's something.
Well, I just saw that this morning.
Dude, that's what
with one of your clients, right? How amazing was that?
Saw
right shoulder, right shoulder pain, I believe, right?
Yep.
And didn't even touch the right shoulder, touched the left, and the right, everything worked out, balanced itself out, and she left like even. First of all, she was slanted. She left even, and she's like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know I had pain in my." When you put the stim on, she's like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know this was kind of weak." And then boom, evened out, left, even, strong. It was amazing.
So it's power chains, right? So even with your hip and your shoulder, the metaphysical lines, it's all dialed in. And I told you, that color mapping system we saw at Virgin Eye, we looked up nerve route. I'm like, Joel, I'm going to teach you how to be a beast, right? Give me your phone, Google this. And we're like, boom, boom. As I'm resetting this client, we're coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
At least have a hypothesis. Okay, here's the nerve route. Here's the system. Actually, it was on your brother.
It was on my brother,
so that's safe, right? We can Google anything we want, right?
Yeah.
We found the color. We tracked the color. We set up the pad. This is what we're doing. This is what we're thinking. We figured it out pretty quick. Tested it, reset it. But, I don't know. It's one of those things where if you're progressive, it can be really rewarding and really fun because you're sorting through something that no one else could. I used to get a lot of reward out of finding the problem, but then it was kind of like, okay, I know what it is now. How do you fix it, right? Keep me up at night, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So out of trying to like feel better, I guess, like figure that out, and eventually you're like not really care about the praise. It kind of makes me kind of weird. I appreciate you though, bro. I don't want to feel weird about telling me I'm awesome on your podcast. Thank goodness, thank you. But yeah, it just gets.
Well, the thing about it is, if I don't say it, people don't really understand it, right? And that's the thing. And like you just said something that was key too, and something that you mentioned to me all week, and you said, you don't understand me, Joel. Like I grind, man. And you're like the way you just said, like the problem. Like if a client had a problem or something, you don't just like, oh, I tried my best. No, like you'll go home and like go deep and like figure out like, no, I want to know every possible thing that could possibly be causing this dysfunction. Because, like, I'm going to wipe that out. So you're just built, again, I said wired different. There's certain people, and that, again, then you look at why people are successful, why people do really well. It's like, oh, there's no accident. There's no accident. People always love to say, and the best people in the world that I see, people always say, oh, it must be great for him. It must be easy for him. And it's like, you have no idea what that person, it looks like an overnight success. Everybody that's great always looks like this overnight success, but they were grinding for years. You just never saw that. It wasn't on their Instagram of them studying at night. All you saw was maybe the on-stage photos. And so you're like, oh, it must be easy. But it's not true.
The thing is, you post to me those studying at night things, people think you got an ego, right? So I'm just like, all right, I'll just show you with the results. You know what I mean? But like, again, it wasn't even like to prove anything. It was more prove to myself, help my people.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody's relying on me. Man, they went through the traditional route. They spent hundreds of hours at a PTs, different PTs, top-notch PTs, the Arizona Cardinals PTs. Like, God knows, like, I get my hair cut with one of the top trainers there. And, like, I was like, bro, I would smoke you. You know what I mean? Like, so it's hard me from me being an athlete to not think that way. And eventually I kind of took a shot myself, right? It's like, okay, again, you just look at it differently. And, like, there's movement. And, like, once you understand the nervous system, now you can really manipulate. And that's, like, kind of Clay's deal. He just really thinks of things differently, special, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we kind of find each other, right? We're like borderline autistic or on the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And people think you have personality disorders, but I just think about Picasso, right? And I'm not comparing myself to Picasso, but like
Dom just called himself Picasso.
No, you know what I mean? Please, right? You understand how it's going to go, right? Like it's bad. So I clarify.
Yeah.
At the camera, I did not call myself special. But that being said, there's a renowned artist in our day, but in his day, he was a madman. He cut his damn ear off. He was just lived by himself. His work was crazy weird, right? And way above the time, and now it's priceless. So under any under any law, or I know it's weird to think about it like that, right? Like, you know, I had this psychic lady or whatever, I don't even know, she's empathy, but she knew some weird stuff, and I didn't even go to it. She came to me for work. She had colonitis, she had a hip problem, and she really became a really nice friend. She sends me like really, really tough projects, but they're always sortable. But yeah, you know, we fixed her IBS in one shot, and she's just like, I don't know what you did. I was like, wait, I fixed your hip. She's like, I don't know what you did. I don't have IBS anymore. And talking to my husband, she's like, dude, she's been bad for like 15 years. It sucks, bro. Like, we can't go anywhere. And all of a sudden, she's like, I actually went out the other night, right? I wasn't afraid. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, wow, like, that's so cool. But it really brings you back to why you're doing stuff, right? But as far as like, you know, pioneering, it's like anybody, you're always going to get some scrutiny and some resistance, especially from people who found their existence in something else, right? Something different.
That's their identity, right?
It's their identity, which it's not my really identity. Like, I ain't be trying to like, you know, be known as a healer or anything. I'm a freaking trainer, man. I build champions, right? Now, just so happens I need to fix them a little. Everyone needs a little optimizing first. So, I mean, you know, in the end, go train whatever messed up way you want. But if you keep me for therapy, I'm going to help you, and we're going to move along. And you're going to figure out how to train as we go out of necessity. So, I don't know. It's just trying to find a better way of doing it versus everybody just failing, right? Or the doctors getting rich, or people growing through anabolics and I'm using more supplements and they end up with liver problems and endocrine problems, and I have to fix them anyway. So so I might as well just build them right?
Yeah.
So in the end, rather than smashing these coaches or bashing all these people or playing that route or even buying into whatever scrutiny it is, it's kind of like, you know, like we show them through the results.
I love that.
Yeah, my team, man.
Yeah,
we love it. Like, you know, I call them all dark horses. You are my horses. Like, you know, ride with me. And they're just like, go, right? You know, they'll do anything. But a lot of that, you know, you find a lot of purpose in that. I think in this life, we're all by ourselves, and that tribe mentality, right? So, we're only supposed to know like 100 people. I know 7,000 people on my phone. It comes up every so often because I use up all my storage. I have all these videos. You see my phone is cracked. It's broken. I'm like, I'm on third replacement. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Please forgive my crappiness. I have 3 more at home. I actually brought one by mistake the other day because it was different, right? It was just like, I thought
different
it was
cracked.
Thought it was a different one. Yeah, it was perfect condition. Just an older one, but I don't know, like, run out of space, and it's like, do you want to get rid of these contacts you haven't contacted in years? I'm like, I don't know if I want to get rid of those, right? So I buy extra space.
Wow.
They keep getting me with the Google, like more and more of, like, man, how much
more
stuff?
Google Drive.
Yeah, and a lot of that's just like, what do you call it? Pollution. There's actually people just like me, so I come and I clean up the crap in your system and whatever. There's somebody that'll go through your computer and delete your fingerprint and, like, you know, your, what do you call it? Your tidiness, your online tidiness, or your electronic tidiness, or your electronic your organization. There's tons of junk now. There's tons of stuff. It's all this crap everywhere, and duplicates of pictures and just like constant. So I'm be buying more Google space, right? So with the bodywork stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I'm buying more machines to take care of more stuff, right? And, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just gonna keep getting deeper, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you're just gonna keep stacking.
Yep, stacking. That's it.
Very cool. We've been going for a while.
We always talk.
Yeah.
When you vibe, right?
That's right. A law of attraction, alignment. So I'm wondering, should we start jumping into some lightning round questions?
Let's just do it.
But,
I think we got our point across. Right?
Yeah. But before I go there, is there anything else that you wish I had asked you that I didn't?
No, I tried to cover everything.
Maybe we'll do a part 2, because
always.
I feel like I could talk to you for forever, man. There's so much good stuff to talk about.
I think that too, because like you kind of see what we're trying to do. It's different, right? You know, and I think you see like there's a little bit of a struggle there, and you gotta remember the mission, right? And I mean, just so happens I'm able to use that stuff for my own goals, right? So like,
for sure.
Like I'm on a good path. We're all on a good path, and you know, life is good, right? So I think, you know, you're always welcome back. Always welcome to come out and learn. Anytime you've ever asked me any questions on anything, I'm always able to help. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and everyone's on the same level, man. You know what I mean? So If you're doing it for the right reasons, like we should help each other. I'm sure you'll help 10 other people after this, right? So,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I got nothing else, man. It was great to talk. What lightning round questions? What
Here
is
we
that?
go. All right.
Seems so excited about that.
Yeah. This is going to be good. So, if the old you could see the new you, what would the new you say?
I would tell him power through, right? Stay your path, be authentic. Don't worry about everybody else. Shortcut that process and probably have a lot less issues, you know?
Yeah.
So, at the same time, I don't really want to change anything. Like, look where I ended up. Like, you know, my favorite thing I say, and I got it from actually a kid that I don't really mess around with anymore. He's kind of a weirdo. But anyway, he would say, I'm grateful for the decay. Killers kill, right? And it's just like, all right, that's a little harsh, but I get it, right? So, like, you know, you have losses, you have things that affect you, but they do affect you into a way where, you know, you can find the gift of it. And, you know, obviously with what I ended up with, like, none of it was planned. Like, it was this and this happening, and that's where I ended up. So even all the bad stuff, all the good stuff, I just tell them power through, right? Stay your path, right?
Yeah, I love that. I have a coach in my life, and one of the things he said that I didn't think about, but he said, you know, when there's stagnation, there's growth, right? And so, like, even like if your business, he said, is like you feel like it plateaued, or you got somewhere and you're like, usually when you plateau, you always think, either A, I'm not good enough, or when's it ever going to be me? He's like, that's when people usually go backwards and give up. That's the perfect time. He's like, that's when the growth actually happens. So
you got time to finish the cert or come out here to work, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think anytime you're around anybody who's passionate about anything, I don't care if they're passionate about dog poop, man, it's inspiring, right? Like, yeah, go pick up that poop. Look at the way I scoop this up, bro. I'll be like, man, that's pretty good, right? You know, no residue.
I didn't know you that. That's saying, a good dog pooping form.
That's a real thing. But if they're passionate about it, that's what's so cool about it. You can listen to somebody talk for however long, right? If they're passionate about traffic, they're going to tell you about this. Yeah, they have a unique view on it, right? So anytime you find people like that, you know, it's always good to get a little bit of that mojo, right? Just transfer it. And it's funny because it helps us too, right? We get more to bring back to what we're doing.
Yeah. What do you think, what were some choices you think you made that made you who you are today?
I think choices wise, one thing that really comes to mind is not rolling over, not taking it, right? You know, there's people that try and take advantage of you, especially in my industry. I'm not big.
Yeah.
I'm really nobody. I try and help, and I do a lot of extra, but they, you know, I have lawyers on retainer. I have buildings. Like, I own a couple buildings. Like, they don't understand who I am, so I try and be really cool and stuff. But every so often, you know, over time, I've had to learn to be a little more savage and a little more business savvy and sign contracts and different things. So I think in the end, like, things that I've learned, it's more or less like, you know, protect the system, protect your ability to help the next person. And sometimes, unfortunately, there are things that you have to let go of, right? You know, so I think, like, as far as that goes, it's like the loss, to be able to accept the loss of whatever it is to get to that next level. And sometimes you lose so much to get that level, it wasn't even worth it. So you got to learn from that, right? You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I don't know. I got actually a mentor. He's like one of the world's strongest men. He owns all these records. Just a stud of a kid. I met him in Vegas. Amazing person. But I love listening to his stories. I love listening to his podcasts. He's got some kind of...
Did you say who he is?
I can say his name is Joe Sullivan.
Okay.
Just studly. Very, 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 very savage mindset, right? Very direct. He's just kind of like, man, the only way to make it worth it is to make it, right? It's just like, that was like a really, really, really profound thought for me. He's like, do or die, all in or all out, just win, right? You know, it's just like, wow, it's so simple, right? And, yeah, you know, you power through, you have purpose. Once you have purpose, it's hard to stop somebody with purpose, right? So things I've had to do, like, as far as your question is, you know, accept the loss, be grateful for the loss, even find the gift in the loss, and then find that fortitude to continue on the path for everybody, right?
Yeah, love that, dude.
Try it, man. You know, it's the only thing that makes it worth it. It makes it make more sense.
Yeah.
That's
so true. Yeah.
It is. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can't really make sense, and man, that'll get you, right? So
Yeah.
at this point, I just laugh and I count my blessings, man. People like you out here to help me, right? You know what I'm saying? So we talked about doing this podcast a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to like kind of be finishing out on this.
Yeah. You know, obviously you're such a beast. You're such a savage in the health and wellness world. But so who's someone that inspires you when you think about like the health and wellness world? Is there anybody that like, I mean, you just mentioned Joe Sullivan.
Joe Sullivan's a beast,
Yeah.
man. Like there's a few cats that do it for the love, right? And there's a few that come into mind. I've worked with some really awesome champions, and there's actually a Japanese bodybuilder I really enjoy. Him and his friend Iris Kyle, 10-time Miss Olympian. We talked about them a few times today.
Yeah.
But they just opened up the powerhouse in Las Vegas, and they put in a lot of weird equipment, a lot of all kinds of Asian stuff. He'd have taught us like Michael Jordan in Japan, right? Like he's just the man. And I had the pleasure of helping him with his last season, or maybe one of his last seasons, and we brought a lot of things back. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
But his crew was happening in the middle of COVID-19, and there's a lot of perseverance that year. Just craziness. Yeah, the people that I had amateurly win weren't necessarily the most gifted, but they were the toughest. Like, so yeah, we powered through at a couple different places, and yeah, they're really patient with me, learning and very gracious, right? So
Yeah.
I see all the success he's had, and you know, as crazy as my industry can be, as dramatic as things can be, and as difficult as things can be, and as awful as people can be, like man, like he's really found this like the love of it, right? I'm like, bro, don't you have any hobbies? It's like, it's my hobby, it's my fun, it's my life. Like, I love it, right? And it's just like, you know, some people are just saying that for the grammar, or maybe they're saying they give themselves justification of being assholes and living in the gym, right? And packing all their food, and they carry their water bottle, and they want to make sure they have all of their better body stuff on, right?
Yeah,
You see it, man.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
Yeah.
like, man, you didn't even work out today. What you right? So, but I don't know. With Hide and this crew, man, like, they be training love, and you know, he'd be grinding something nasty and across the gym 10,000 feet away. Let's go, Hide. Iris is over there yelling, get it, bro. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know. There's a lot of support and a lot of camaraderie in that kind of group. It's just hard to find it, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of out for themselves. A lot of the new school, they don't understand like what we're doing. They're just doing it for the trophy or for the props, or think their life is going to change and make a contract and make money. Not necessarily. In fact, very unlikely. Like 1% of that makes, right? You know what I mean? So, I don't know, like nobody really cares what you place, but they remember how you were. They remember how you did things, you know what I mean? And like, you know, if your clients are solid, if your people are good, if they're happy, you know what I mean? They're healthy, you know what I mean? Like, obviously winning is great, but it's how you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Touche. You know, it's funny because when I was following you over the last year and you were in Vegas, Hide, when I would see the stories that you'd post, that
So
was
much love.
it was actually, that was one of the times where it looked to me like you were having a lot of fun when you were surrounded with him specifically and doing some cool fun stuff with him. It just looked like the energy was great, and it looked like you guys were all having a lot of fun. Like you said, and it's an industry can be just dramatic and very savage, and just people turn on it and double cross each other. And that was a time when I actually remember, I'm like, man, you guys look like you're having fun out there. It was cool.
Dude, he had a great group, like amazing. And you know, the only people in are allowed in, and like he looks at people a little different, right? You know, he doesn't want to pollute nothing. He's not crazy, but he has a flow. And at the same time, if you love what you do, like, man, come on in. We'll train with you, right? Like, yeah, like, and for them to open a gym, and it's his second gym. He has one in Tokyo, maybe even two. So he's doing really good. It's nice to see a successful bodybuilder put something aside for himself and continue the path and continue instilling that into people. I think there's nothing better to have is a place you can give people that energy. I had clients that go up there and just loved it. Like, Iris took time to train them. They're like, hey, we're Dom's clients. She's like, oh my God, I got you. Let's go. Come on. Like,
wow.
10-time Miss Olympia. I was like, man, I'm jealous. She never trained me.
Seriously.
Yeah, I touched her. I'm like, hey man, come on and lift. She's like, whenever you ready, we ready, right? Like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, so I mean, I obviously have 9 weeks, and it's a 5-hour drive is nothing, right? I need a day off here and there. So
Yeah.
nice to have like my crew out there, a couple people in California, a couple in Florida, you know. So like all these places I've worked, you've been able to, you know, make friends and
establish
and,
relationships.
build your tribe, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you can only have 100. So
Yeah.
like that's how I look at it these days. So I don't keep a lot close, but you know, everybody in the crew is selfless. We're all helping each other, especially when it comes time to prep, man. And you can always tell every prep has their losses. You know, some people are only in it when you're not doing well, and it really annoys them when you're doing well. And again, it's unfortunate, but it's worth it for the push. I think eventually those people are weeding themselves out with the work that we're doing, where we're establishing a different level, and those coaches unfortunately aren't able to keep up, you know. So in the end, you understand why they're so upset. You know what I mean? Like, it's change, and if you're not willing to change and progress, you don't care enough. I guess like it is what it is, right? You know, like anything else, just like the biohacking world, just like the basketball world, and yeah, the teams are adopting systems, right? And everybody's keeping everything secret. So I'm the one guy be trying to like help everybody, man. Let's all
That's
just
one
roll.
big thing you've been saying along the whole trip. I said, hey, what's one of your goals? And you're like, dude, I am trying to change the game and show people there's like another way. And like I'm sharing, and I want to help change that about my community and help them and make them raise up.
Exactly. I'd rather compete with somebody doing a good job than compete with somebody that I'm having to fix their problems again anyway. And like this poor person, right? They put all their faith in this celebrity coach, right? Or maybe more of an influencer than an actual coach. And they're on all these PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, and like this coach is actually like sending emails. Like, God, it's a plethora of lawsuits and different things, but like in the end, the client really suffers, and my industry really suffers. Someone like you looks at it as like, bro, that's weird. Like, man, there's a lot going on. Like, nah, don't gotta be like that. So yeah, I'd be like, I wasn't taught that. I saw what was happening, but like my guy back in Hawaii, Chris Faudo, like it's a different game back there. Everybody's happy. Nobody hates each other. It's just, you know, we're backstage.
Ohana.
Brother, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We call it Lao Lima. Is helping each other out as a community, punishable by death if you don't do that. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, kapu is a serious thing in ancient Hawaiian culture, and they teach it to us. They instill it to us as kids. You know, I never could figure it out, but they're really trying to like make us good like hospitality people, so people love coming to Hawaii, right? So I get 8 years of Hawaiian. Ancient Hawaiian culture, ancient Hawaiian studies, right? But I got like 1 year of American studies. I can't tell you where Wyoming is. I didn't know Montana was a state until I was watching Yellowstone. Like,
it doesn't matter, actually. You don't need to know that, but yeah.
Yeah, anyway, like, I don't know, like the message, though, is a community. It's getting the people and everybody involved, and like I said, showing them there's a better way. And to those who don't want to jump, that's fine. Like, I ain't going to judge you either, but you don't got to judge us, right? We're just trying to do better, right? So, you know, in the end, I think everyone comes around. Like, there's a reason why it spread. It went from like 2 people to 50 people to 100 people with what we're trying to do, and everybody's trying to copy the optimization system. Everyone has their own version, and there's actually some people that actually can do some serious damage. You know what I mean? And, you know, people that we're trying to study with and people we're trying to work with, and Garrett, you know, the owner of Neufit, is always pushing, and someone like me always pushing and giving data, and yeah, we're all running that movement. We looking to be the gold standard as opposed to the last choice, right? So,
yeah.
Again, once you believe in it, it's a lot of purpose. It's really, really difficult to stop purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Books. I'm a huge reader. Are there any like 1 to 3 books that jump out in your head that had a lot of impact on your life?
Well, we both read a very similar book. I think I even told you to get it. It might have been me, which a biohack told me, and I don't know. But it's called The Renaissance Effect. Yeah, it's all about microcurrent.
The resonance
effect.
Yeah.
Resonance
You did
effect.
tell me to get that one.
Amazing,
phenomenal.
Amazing. Oh, I mean, it was just this lady's stories about how she helped people, and just like I'd be like, I remember reading it, my jaw hurt. I was like, wait, why is my jaw, my mouth is open, right?
Yeah.
And just like, man, I'd be calling my friend, like, hey, did you see this? Like, you know what I mean? And we're like going back, like, well, how do we use that, right? Well, like just do it this way, and we're just trying different ways, just frying ourselves, right? And I don't know, and that's how I work with the dogs, right? You know, all the dogs, it's all FSMs. They don't have voices to tell us, so we got to watch, and we got to get the blood work and stuff. But man, you can sort through a lot of that, quite a bit. Skin issues or allergies are insane. you know,
Yeah.
even like eye issues, like it's really cool. You know what I mean? I don't know, aesthetic stuff like dental or whatever, you know, like I don't think there's a way we can do that, but you know, getting their arthritis set. You'll get this dog that barely moves around, and he stands up and he just hops around. The owners are just like, you know.
Let's talk about that real quick, because you know what? I wanted to ask you about dogs.
Dog
You work
therapy?
you work with a lot of dogs, and I think people be like,
I don't know a lot compared to humans, but I work with some dogs.
compared to humans, but I mean, you're taking arthritic dogs that are like limping, and you know, like that's what happens to a lot of dogs. I have a friend who has like a German Shepherd that's starting to limp, and I see you getting dogs and better. I mean, in like insane amount of times. Can you talk about how you got into that?
I
And
mean, okay, I got two American Bull Terriers, and they mean the world to me. You know, everybody has a story about their dog saving them, but they really brought me back to what's important, right? And you know, I'd do anything for them. And I worked my older one a little too hard. I wanted a really jack dog, and I was,
like you,
oh God,
follow me,
bro. He had so many digestion issues because given all kinds of supplements.
Oh my God.
Like I would make him walk around the chain. Poor guy has like impingements. Like forever, his shoulder was like too mobile, and I just kind of wore him down. So you know, as I got into the manual system, I started doing more of the stuff for the dogs. And you know, my bullies, they have so much muscles. They don't like Theraguns or anything like electronic. Man, they love to be scraped. They love to be massaged. They love to be like a heat, you know, they like warm, you know what I mean? So, you know, I did as much as I could manually, and then I found a service. So actually, a guy found me, his hand was all gimpy, you know, and he's like, oh, I run this dog running service. I'm like, bro, this guy's out of his mind, right? Like, whatever. Anyway, he's like, no, like, check this out. And dude, he has dog treadmill, self-propelled treadmills, and he's an expert at running, and he'll periodize them. So every Thursday, my guys get to work, man. He'll come over late, he'll hustle with us. Freaking music's going. My dog, I've never seen him so happy, but you know, it's the same system. It's mobilize, rebuild, optimize, maintain, right? And then progress. So with the dog stuff, a lot of my clients had dogs. And I'd be sitting there, I was like, wow, like, you know, this Neufit's supposed to work on dogs. We both saw it. There's a paraplegic dog they built out, Ruby or something.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like, oh, let me try this. Like, bro, I would pay you good money for that, right? First it started with the glove, basically electric petting.
Yeah.
And now you watch this pit bull just go, you know, and all of a sudden we're friends. And dogs are awesome because when you're done, they'll get up and like wag their tail at you and be like, thanks, man, and like walk away.
Yeah.
Or every once in a while, they'll take their hand and like put it on you. And I'm just like, bro, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
That's like a dog petting you, right? It's showing you affection. But yeah, I love my bullies, and I got a lot of love for any dog owner that's willing to be progressive. And you know, I utilize the Run Buddy service just like I utilize trainers here, right? Like, you know, you send me a dysfunctional client, that client sends me a referral, I send it back to the trainer, right? You know, and same with the Run Buddy, man. He sends me clients, I send him clients, we build them up. We got a few dogs that should have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like 2-3 years deep, just rolling, you know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. Dog therapy is probably like my backup after I went, you know, just a few more things I need to do in my industry. And I got my first employee coming out, you know, help me run the bodywork like combination program. Kid from Alaska has colonitis, but he's just a stud of a kid. You know, autoimmune gives you a different look at life, and he has a very like mellow, easy like influence. My people loved him, and I loved working with him as a competitor, and I'm pretty sure I can get him his pro card within a few months. Like, he's just
That'd
that
be exciting to see.
I mean, exciting for him too, right? Like, yeah, I'd be pushing for mine. A lot of my clients are pushing for theirs. I got a lot of people that have been on the edge that have failed with different coaches, and it's like, okay, now we have a shot. Like, let's freaking roll, right? You know, and it's just, like I said, I think what better way to prove the work and take a bunch of washed up, broken, talented people, but over the hill, really, and let's bring them back, right? I got a couple no names, just nobody, but they have massive potential, and crazy chips on their shoulders. So it's like, you'd be like, yeah, bro, I'm down, right? You know what I mean? And it's just like making that team system and making this like better, right? So either way, it's gonna get good.
Yeah, huge. Other than the Neufit and using electric stim, what other like rituals, or you have any rituals or hacks or biohacks that you like to do on a regular basis?
Well, you know, I'm cold skin, man. You're going to get me started on this one, right? So we're looking for every optimal piece, right? So, you know, Uller pads are awesome where they get cold. And I know you didn't have a ton of success with that, but, you know, the cold on the skin actually really sets things up. It triggers recovery. It opens things up. It speeds up the recovery process, right? So your HRV skyrockets, and those of you biohackers listening, you know, HRV is an indicator of recovery. body temperature is an indicator of dysfunction.
Yeah.
All these different things follow that. So, you know, I sleep with an Euler pad. I have a couple like full panel red lights. Even got like my red light guy was just texting me his new shipment came in. There's some legit shit he wants to hook me up with.
Oh, wow.
So I'm excited about that. Then from there, yeah, I mean, plethora of supplements, you know, a lot of digestion supplements, GI supplements.
I meant to ask you, what is like
yeah.
your top supplements? Or
Well, there's a company
and
called-
obviously you're a different beast, but for you, like what's,
Well,
you know?
if, you know, for me, top things that made a big difference is the recovery stuff and then the gut stuff. So,
Yeah.
Cortisol stuff, you know, cortisol control. So like, you know, you stack like pathonic acid, ashwagandha, L-theanine. You can do a complex which has a lot of that stuff in it. Then maybe add a little more. You know, I really like the cortisol supplements with the combination of neurological amino acids, neurostem, you know what I mean? So like, you know, any kind of L-theanine, melatonin, L-tryptophan, you can do GABA. But for someone like me, it really knocks me back and it puts me in a position where I can actually be effective, right? So part of that job is there's just a million things going on. You saw it, like just one thing after another. This person goes over to
Yeah, you're nonstop.
Constant.
My brother
Boom, boom, boom,
was saying that he's like, dude, I don't know how he's so on all the time.
Gotta
like,
be.
Yeah, gotta be.
next level, right?
Yeah.
And it's out of, and I appreciate that, bro. You know, we be hustling, but yeah, I don't know. The cortisol supplements really helped. Obviously, like recovery supplements for working out. Like I do train 4 to 5 days a week, pretty hard, with the Neufit sometimes, with BioStem, with BFR bands. I mean, I'm using blue light glasses to register my brain. I do vestibular work every week with one of those eHealth guys, the top practitioner in Arizona. We trade. He's a badass, right? You saw
We met him. Great guy.
Clever,
Yeah.
clean, beautiful brain, right? You know, his brain works differently. So, you know, before my workouts, I do this many head turns. I do this many tilts.
Yeah.
I do the
Saccades.
Yeah, saccades, man. Reverse saccades. You had fun with those.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Savage. Yeah. So, and they mean different things. So they're taking us into a deeper part of decision making and cognitive reflex and just autonomic response, trying to give me this edge on my recovery, or at least give me this edge where I'm not creating so many problems for my PTs to work on, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's as far as supplements goes, the recovery stuff is phenomenal. And when you talk recovery, there's a million recovery things, but yeah, transglutamine is great. It's a glutamine peptide. Love it. Yeah, it's like very small amounts will create a ton of L-glutamine in your system. And when you use L-glutamine, it buffers lactic acid. It lowers ammonia. It definitely lowers how much bullshit comes from training, right? Vitamin C is an easy one. Any biovitamin C, something like that, releases a homogelated release. So like you're looking for a tab, really. And it'll slowly break down throughout your digestive tract and you'll get a ton out of it, right? So that stuff is awesome. And then my new favorite thing is a pea starch. Well, you read carbohydrates after workout, maltodextrin, cyclodextrin, homopolysaccharide, I mean, waxy maize. I mean, it's gone so crazy. Like there's a lot of performance carbs. And I noticed the ones that are a little fluffier, they tend to make me a little rounder and give me the look I want, as well as like keep my blood sugar in a better place. I told you I'm half Japanese, so I run at like 50, 55. I'll eat ice cream and my glucose is ridiculous, right? So what the dark side of that is I don't get enough food, I get sick. I can get real sweaty and like it's pretty sketch, you know, especially if you're bigger. That's where it gets really intense. You got to sit down or you got to find something quick, right? You know? And, you almost go hypoglycemic being that low. But that being said, like the pea starch really levels. So it creates this spike where I can influence insulin and now absorb a ton of stuff I put in my glutamine, my aminos, my creatine, whatever, my greens, my collagen. I put all that stuff in there, right? You know, and that's right after that workout. Before it drops, rather than dropping like, you know, maltodextrin or drop, eventually you have to eat, and there's no way you can level it out in time. So the pea starch was steadily lower, and it keeps me anti-catabolic where I can get into that fat loss zone, right? So I don't know. I love my Oura Ring. Oura Rings are great. Yep, they tell me when to go and when not to. At first, I told you I thought it was broken. Yeah. You're like, man, every day it tells me to take it easy. What the fuck, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, wait, like you're not recovering. I had no idea. I just got so used to it, right? So the cortisol supplements help, recovery supplements help, and then obviously digestion is huge. So digestive stuff is so overlooked. It's how your body absorbs protein. It's how your body absorbs carbs, how you regulate energy. It sends signals to everything. So think about this. You know muscle imbalances affect you, right? Your shoulder hurts, whatever. That's pretty effective. That's a much quieter signals than say your tummy. It's just not as loud.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as profound. Right. So it's like, I don't know. You ever hear just like the tweeters or something in somebody's cars, but without the tweeters, it does not sound as good. Or somebody, you ever been rolling someone's cars where they have the tweeters rig way too loud? I had the tweeters, you're like, wow, that really messed me up, right? Yeah. So think of like your digestive tract and your organs as kind of like those little tweeters. Without that, it's like it actually doesn't work, right? So I find taking care of digestion. There's a couple products, but man, they're getting more and more popular. There's a company that sponsors the classic Mr. Olympia and some of these top competitors. He's from a competitor himself, a competition coach out on the East Coast. His name is Matt Anderson. It's called Revive. And I've been seeing it in doctors' offices, DO's offices I work at. Like, I mean, it's a great product. And they got a really nice line for inflammatory, gut issues, endocrine problems, estrogen blockers. I mean, dealing with the stress of everything, right?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, but digestion is crazy. You take this thing and, man, your tummy goes flat, your heartburn goes away. Any diaphragmatic issues you have, I mean, I've had phenomenal success with my client. And it's like chick root and licorice root and like celery, powdered celery. It's like you wouldn't think it would be that awesome, but definitely put it together. And that Mr. Olympia just so happens to have some sort of version of autoimmune. Like he destroyed, and he's had it under control, and it's like another level. He's setting like a new standard. And like, again, that's kind of what we're trying to do with our program, is set that standard. Yeah, it doesn't have to be so crazy, right? You know, why kill yourself? Like trying to get healthy. How counterproductive is that, right?
Yeah. Couple more questions and we'll wrap it up. 2020 was a crazy year for a lot of people. And especially during like the pandemic, right? People are losing their jobs and they're just living in fear. I want to reframe that for you. Finish this sentence. 2020 was the greatest gift because ... I
think because I really was able to prove the work, and it took the edge off. Where now I can kind of take clients that help my cause and help our cause, and that's as I can pick and choose clients that will show me the turnaround that I need to drive the work farther. People that believe in the system, right? So 2020 was an absolute gift. I lost a lot of people that weren't my people in the first place, right? So and again, being grateful for the decay, that was a very, very profound feeling, a freeing feeling, really, right? You know, and it's you have to remember your purpose, right? You know what I mean? Like there's something bigger than you or your feelings. In fact, you know, that feeling you're getting, it's like it's how your neck was hurting earlier. It's not real. There's a reason for it, and like you start breaking it down, it makes you feel a certain way. And remember, I was like, bro, like, what does that mean to you? Like, wow, I feel like I'm failing. I'm like, bro, it's objective, right? And then you're just like, yeah, you're right, right? You know what I mean? So I think in the end, it's like being able to master yourself. Like that was the real gift of it, and not letting other people control you, and not letting the system control you or influence how you're doing things. I was like, wow. And then from there, being able to be more conclusive. Like that's where I kind of came across that idea. It's like it's not even that part. It's being influenced. You start looking at those chains and how to influence that. Again, think of the equation as backwards. It's way faster that way, you know?
Yeah, love that. Dude, last but not least, where can people find you?
You know what? IG is the best. But if you come to Tempe, Arizona, and you jump in any gym, any Arizona gym, you talk to anybody that's in shape, they're going to tell you where to find me. Right? So that's kind of my MO. I've always kind of stayed under the radar. But if you go to IG, obviously look up Joel. I'm on his page and stuff. But, you know, you just if you Google Dom Pelosi, you'll find it. There's pictures of me everywhere. And, like, I try and stay on the end, like, you know, as a healer or as a therapist. Up until recently, I haven't really gotten a ton of credit, right? Like I'll go and hustle with these people for weeks, months, live in their houses, like all this stuff we'll eat together, and then they'll win the show, and you know you don't really get invited to breakfast anymore, right?
Yeah, so interesting.
Which I know, which is fine. I mean, and that's the thing. You're like, bro, let me pay, and I'm like, I'll pay, and you're like, no, stop. Like, all right, like I was like, all right, no, but you get used to different things. Yeah. So in the end, it's just about the work, right? You know, and I think, like I said, not buying into the subjective feeling of it, right? You know, and I don't know. It's being grateful and progressive, right? You know, building on it, right? And you serve, you do your job, and you progress that system. And thank goodness for people like yourself or Garrett or some of these other people that have reached out. It's just like, hey man, like, you're doing great. Keep going, right? You know?
Yeah.
But we all have our job. We all have a purpose, right? We all have our place. And I think for me, I haven't necessarily entirely figured that out, but like, I can definitely influence that game, right?
Oh yeah.
And everybody's got a mom and grandma, and I got a really high conclusion rate in the DO's office, so the dogs are doing awesome. I've only lost one, and it was like a tumor exploded, like, but he was on a comeback. He was killing it.
Yeah,
like, we were devastated. It was so sudden, right? And it's like, man, I got to figure out how to stop internal bleeding. That will not happen to me again, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you just follow your path, right? Be original.
Love it, brother. Dom Pelosi, the Physique Smith. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
Appreciate you, bro. Joe.
Love you, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.